This is the Go Fungal Podcast. Okay, today we have Jen Depakakibo and Lis Martin from Statement. They are experts in brand development and other things. And today we're going to be talking about marketing roadmaps and why they might be the missing piece in your marketing strategy. So, Jen and Lis, welcome to the show.
Thanks so much for having us, Matt.
You bet. Well, I'm excited to talk about marketing roadmaps because really I actually don't even know what it is. So I'm going to learn something today. So maybe we could just even start there. What is a marketing roadmap?
Yeah, that's a great question. One way that we like to explain a marketing roadmap is like the dashboard of your car. So if you ran a diagnostic on your marketing program, which lights would be green, which lights would be yellow, and which lights would be red.
What if you have a car that is like a total beater like mine and all of them are red? Is that a problem?
It indicates that there are some things to work on.
Okay.
But, we think that figuring out what those are and how we might want to prioritize them is a huge first step in the right direction. You would be surprised at the number of people that are driving those beaters and just keep on going down the road and never stop in for that diagnostic. I think that's where you get into real trouble with your marketing program.
Yeah, guilty. Well, I do that with my car, but hopefully I don't do that as much with my company. But maybe we'll find out as we talk a little bit more where I'm missing. So I guess, before we go even further, one thing I'd love to just get a sense of is, so Jen and Lis, you are partners in your company. And I guess maybe I'd love to just hear a little bit of background about why you started the company, how you started, and then we can even go a little bit further to understand the context of marketing roadmaps. So maybe tell me a little bit about that. How'd you get started?
Yeah, I can take that one. So, Statement started in 2016 out of a passion for doing really great work together. So Lis and I met as agency veterans and working in the field around Chicago, me on the design side, Lis on the content and copywriting side. And we really just organically came together to understand the power in being able to integrate our disciplines and do really great work for clients. So that really was the birth of Statement. And since then we've really organically built our agency, around this idea of true strategic branding and marketing and the impact it makes across doing creative execution work. So that's really kind of the driver into really leaning into a strong focus around brand strategy, marketing strategy, and roadmaps that lead into creative execution.
Awesome. And is there a focus or a niche that in terms of your companies you work with, or is it more broad?
Yeah, so just over the past couple of years, we've really narrowed our focus on the social impact organizations. So, that means nonprofits, as well as some of the mission-driven companies that are serving nonprofits. The common tie is that desire to, do good. And, we really find a lot of joy and motivation from, helping others help others, so to speak. So I think one thing that's really interesting about nonprofits is that they have some of the most complex marketing challenges and programs out there. They're talking to funders, they're talking to donors, they're talking to program participants. And then, on the internal side, they have executive leadership, they have board leadership, they have volunteer leadership sometimes. So, more so perhaps even than their for-profit counterparts, going through an exercise like the roadmap can be really illuminating and help focus, I've got limited resources, I've got limited time, where should I start?
Got it. Okay. And man, you think that they would make it easier on the nonprofits if they're going to have to do all that extra work. That's kind of makes it
not the case.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, so it makes sense, how do you sort of untangle all that? And maybe you could help me understand I understand the analogy, right, of the car, but help me, take it a step further. what is this experience? What are you doing? Where do you start? What's the outcome?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, at Statement, we really take a brand first approach to all of the work that we do. And, we firmly believe that understanding, who you are as an organization on the inside should really inform, everything that appears on the outside.
Mm.
So, we start with brand strategy and use that to inform your messaging, your visual strategy, as well as your marketing. So the channels and, different methods that you're using to connect with your audience. And we really see the roadmap as the first step to all of that. So, we have a pretty methodical process that we can, scale up or down depending on, the size of the organization and, kind of complexity of the needs. I think one thing that can really intimidate marketing leaders is thinking about strategy with a capital S and, oh, it's going to be this 9-month process and it's going to cost me an arm and a leg. It doesn't have to be that way, and it can actually help save, a lot of time and, kind of trial and error on the back ends by, taking a beat to really look and think critically, not just about all of the different parts of the program, but how they're working together, in service of a goal, whether that is, raising money for a new initiative, whether it's, increasing enrollment for a program, whether it's reaching out to a new audience. We really talk with our organizations about, high level, what do they want to do? What is that impact they're looking to achieve? And then look at, how the different parts of the program are all working in service of that goal. And where there are things that need to be improved or be built out, what is the right order of operations to get that done?
Got it. So is a marketing roadmap synonymous with like a marketing strategy, or is there some differences there?
Yeah, you gotta take that, Jen.
Yeah. So, as Liz was talking, a marketing road, basically like the way that we look at strategy, as she said, with like the big S, the middle S, the small S, really a roadmap, is trying to define like the ideas and the opportunities, right? So like we're really outlining like how brand strategy, how marketing strategy are really actually really connected to the organization's strategy and trying to get clarity around that from a foundational perspective. So this is beyond like simple positioning or like what's your brand personality, right? Like it really kind of
Right.
digs to the heart of that to help understand the opportunities first and actually why it matters to the audience. I think it's actually really interesting to see how many organizations haven't done really a deep analysis into the complexities of the audiences, which really serves as such a strong foundation to like how the marketing plan or the brand plan needs to work. So we start there, and then we move into creative strategy, which is like the planning. So let's talk about the UX of your website. Let's talk about, like what the overarching campaign concept and goals look like, and let's plan it out, kind of anchored to that really strong roadmap and foundation. And then the final bucket on strategic execution. So like the doing of the work and like how do we actually like make that copy and those images and those words work together to execute? How are we measuring that back, again, anchored to the roadmap and our insights and our findings? So it's a very holistic, picture into those ways that we think about the strategic work, into those 3 segments.
Gotcha. And how long has Statement been in business?
Since 2016.
2016.
So yeah,
2016.
we're turning 7 this year.
Congrats.
Thank you.
7.
Seven's a big,
Been a
that's a big
ride.
number. And so what's the story behind this product? Did you show up in 2016 and you just knew we need marketing roadmaps to be a solution for our clients? Or did you sort of like run into some challenges that clients were having and sort of figure it out that way? How'd that end up?
That's a great
Yeah.
question. Yeah, I can take that one.
Yeah.
So, going back to the earliest days of Statement, Jen and I really started out like more squarely in the creative and craft realm, and we were coming in and doing a lot of production-based work in our early days, and had success with that, and started to build a multidisciplinary production team. And what we realized along the way was that
And Liz, when you say production, is it like creative, all creative things, assets, or video?
yeah,
Or...
so maybe another way to put that is implementation. We were the people who could actually come in and write the email, design the one pager, build the website. We were in the business of making creative things.
Yeah.
And we found a lot of need out there, in the marketplace for that skill set, and having access to, a multidisciplinary team of writers and designers, and like specialized skills. And what we realized along the way was that part of what was helping us be successful was that we were naturally doing some of this work with our clients. We just didn't really have a name for it, and it wasn't an official service. But whatever the ask was, whether it was to create a campaign, or to produce a new landing page or a deck, we were always working with our clients to figure out how that tied back to the bigger goal, and help to move the organization toward those marketing or growth goals. And what we found along the way was that in addition to needing great creative partners and creative support, a lot of our clients either didn't have the time, or they didn't have the expertise to connect all those dots on their own. And I think, what really helped to break this open for us was the addition of our marketing strategist a couple of years ago to our team. And, Jen mentioned, we're really built on this idea of the power of partnerships. We really recognize the tremendous potential of bringing, our brand and, creative skill sets alongside her marketing expertise to evaluate and, design entire programs, and how much of a need there was for a shop that could do that without it being this insanely, lengthy and expensive exercise. So, we introduced the roadmap in 2021. And in the first 6 months of its existence, we had sold 5 of them. And we realized, gosh, maybe we have something here, and we continue to fine tune it. But I think we, are very passionate about the fundamental idea behind the roadmap, which is, taking the time to take a beat and, really evaluate before you plan, are you making the right plans, is really the question the roadmap seeks to answer.
Got it. Yeah. So let's say I'm a nonprofit or a mission-driven company. What are some of the signs and symptoms that you would see that would identify you're in need of a marketing roadmap?
That's a great question. I can take that. So we hear a lot of different asks that come in, from a nonprofit or a consultancy that is looking for our work. Sometimes they're like, we need a website. Our website's really dated, and it's just, I'm embarrassed of it, and we need this thing, right? And when we actually start peeling back the layers and asking the questions that we ask, we actually often find that they need a roadmap, and they need a really strong strategic foundation that encompasses the marketing goals, their brand goals, and it kind of just needs an overhaul, from a refresh perspective. Again, like, is it a lightweight exercise? Do we take a lot of the work that they've done and we kind of, really adjust that to like getting to the ask and getting to that really great website refresh, but through that really strong anchor and foundation of strategy. So some other things that we hear from nonprofits are capacity. They're very time strapped in general. They've got very lean teams. They're throwing spaghetti at the wall. Oftentimes, right? They're very reactive in their planning and marketing. So they're combating these never-ending to-do lists, and they haven't actually found time to stop and look at the bigger picture and formulate that strategic plan to their efforts. So that's one arena. Siloing, they've got a team of copywriters, they've got a different designer that's touching this, they've got internal people and external consultancies, and all of that really kind of adds to that kind of breakdown across their program and their message and their brand. So we look to kind of find those opportunities for cohesion, based on that ask. Just also general asks on, we're looking to modernize what we do. What are the best trends and practices for us as a nonprofit organization? They're often looking to to a creative agency to really help get them up to speed on that. As nonprofits, they tend to kind of lack a little bit behind on kind of some of those best practices, or like the ways of doing social, right, or email marketing. And we're helping them kind of understand how to put dollars and efforts into the best execution strategies based on that.
Got it. So it sounds like this is sort of, like you said, you take a step back and we want to make sure we're pointed in the right direction. Because you could be doing all this activity, but you're headed in the wrong direction and it's not delivering the results that you see. Any examples of those that you could share that would help us understand, put this into context?
Yeah, so I think one good example of how a roadmap helped to recalibrate a strategy is with educational company that we worked with about a year ago. So heritage brands, they've been around for close to a century, and they have a children's book subscription service that primarily goes out to school librarians. And, they are competing with, the big book purveyors, kind of the Amazons of their space, right? And very kind of traditionally sales-oriented organization. And, we saw that a lot of their materials were very centered on cost and pricing and, trying to compete with, these large sellers where, that is a, battle that I think is very difficult for like a boutique sized company to win.
Sure.
But, what we realized as we got into the exercise with them, evaluating their marketing, evaluating their brands, was that they had this really hidden jewel of their offering, which was that all of the books that they were curating and, sharing through these subscriptions to librarians were, head and shoulders in quality above anything else that was out there in the marketplace. They had this amazing editorial board that was made up of, the most respected publisher, professionals in the space. And something like 95% of their books went on to win, Newberys and Caldecott's, et cetera. And what they were really offering was this first, look or preview at like the best of children's literature in a way that like none of their competitors could even touch. And, we came to them and we said, hey, you are the independent bookstore in a sea of Amazons. You don't need to act like an Amazon, lean into your identity. And we help them think through, what that looked like in their messaging and tagline, what that might look like in their visual identity, a much more kind of curated and sophisticated feel. As well as a slew of content marketing ideas that would really flip the script and deliver that message to their audience. And, we heard from our point of contact afterwards that, going through that process was like having a psychologist for their brands. We we really peeled back the onion and, were able to not just do, kind of the abstract brand strategy, but help them see, how can that apply to my channel strategy? How might that shape, the types of emails and campaigns that we're sending out? How can my sales team, deliver that message? So, while it didn't result in, a big shift to their channel strategy, it did totally change the message. And, they've really seen the positive results of that, in the years since we went through that exercise with them.
Awesome. Yeah, that's a great example. And I guess just thinking about, zooming out a little bit from just even specifically this marketing roadmap product and thinking more broadly about some of your clients' challenges and struggles, like what are some of the biggest struggles you're seeing right now with nonprofits?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think with nonprofits in general, especially kind of now in the changes in the last several months into this year, it's really a lot of budget priorities and
Yeah.
prioritization around how to best utilize the spend and their efforts. So, most organizations, even regardless of like the climate that's happening across the industry, is that most of them need the evolutions and not the revolutions, right? And like I think like the fear of strategy, as we talked about, and being this big, long, laborious exercise that doesn't yield like the, results in front of my face, so to speak, kind of thing is intimidating. And there's a lot of risk involved in that, right, around the cost. So really helping organizations understand not to underestimate the impact that small changes can make and like
Mm.
really starting strong with these like strong strategic foundations are going to be the pathway to get to bigger changes is an important philosophy we try to drive, within the mindset of organizations that might come to us for this work.
What are like 2 to 3 questions that nonprofits, mission-driven companies should be asking themselves? Whether they're going through this process or just sort of assessing this on their own, kind of sharing a little bit of helpful insights here for those that are listening.
A lot of the kind of initial work we do with our clients is around audience, right? And audience being like a really central component of that brand positioning. So I think a great place for any organization to start is in asking who is my audience and where do they live?
Mm.
And that work, is really like the first step of the roadmap for us. I think, another challenge that we see a lot of nonprofits up against is just the saturation of the marketplace and all the digital channels. There's no more first mover advantage on any of these social channels, and it's no longer enough to just, set up an Instagram account and start posting content. There's such there's so much clutter and there's so much noise out there. Often we're helping our clients think through, how can you do fewer things better?
Right.
I think it's very tempting for a lot of organizations, especially if they're getting board pressures or pressures from people who are not marketing experts to chase the shiny object. I think what the roadmap exercise can really help clarify is, who do we want to reach, and what are going to be the most effective and lowest friction ways to do that. One of the things that we look at in the roadmap, which might be surprising to people, is, marketing infrastructure and very specific focus on CRM. We're huge believers in the power of the list, and especially seeing what has happened, with Twitter over these last few months, seeing kind of the decreasing returns across the board on organic social. I think we're really cognizant of that and, counseling clients to not build a marketing strategy that's totally based on rented land, so to speak.
Mm.
Owning your audience and your list is one of the most valuable things, that you can do for your marketing program. That depends on not just knowing who they are and crafting the right message, but literally, having those contacts in your database and being able to speak to them at a moment's notice. I think it ultimately, a lot of it comes back to audience.
You run an agency. You started this in 2016, and it sounds like it's really kind of developed along the way, and you've really carved a good path for yourself, sort of a niche audience. What are y'all most excited about right now?
Yeah, I mean, I think narrowing in on the nonprofit and social impact space is obviously just a personal passion of ours, like because we just so strongly believe that nonprofits have the most powerful stories to tell, and they're often like falling short because of the lack of, like not having strong comms or design thinking and strategy behind the work, but knowing that like that putting our expertise around that, around like good communications, good design thinking, like does truly go so far for these organizations is really the driver and like what excites us, about like being able to put our skills to use for these organizations. So, yeah, I would say that's kind of like the big excitement and getting our niche aligned and what we're looking forward to do, just doing more great work this year.
Yeah. What about you, Liz? What comes to mind?
Yeah, I would definitely echo all of that. I think, our history so far at Statement has really been, exploring the best way for us to deliver value to clients. And, as we've evolved, we that has looked like going a little bit upstream over time. And it's really exciting to be in this place right now and, entering into these kind of partnerships with clients where we feel like we can really help them, increase their impact and, by getting in on the ground floor with them on some of this work. And it feels good. It feels good to do that for, a mission-driven organization that's genuinely interested in, doing good and creating change in the world. And we're just eager to, keep expanding the net and preaching the gospel of brand first marketing to, to those we meet because we think it works and we've seen the success of that.
You keep saying that term, brand first marketing. What does that mean?
Yeah, so we believe that all effective marketing flows from brands. And to us, brand is about what you are on the inside, and taking a moment to really analyze and define that, we believe is the precursor to an effective creative strategy, so both your messaging and your visuals and your marketing strategy. So the channels or methods that you're using to reach out to your audience. So all of our engagements, big or small, mega roadmap or, kind of lightweight exercise, start with those brand questions. Who are you? Who is your audience? And how do you want to relate to them?
Yeah, who am I? We're trying to
Easy
figure
to
that one
answer,
out.
right?
Hey, what
Wait,
do I want to
like
be when I grow up?
walls.
I'm still trying to answer that question for myself.
Individually, yes.
Yeah,
Right.
and that's what informs like what you do, right, or what you build. I mean, it's interesting. I love talking to you about this stuff, and I feel like I have a million questions just about your agency and how life's been going, because we both sounded like I started my agency in 2017, and
Awesome.
a lot of learning along the way so far for sure. But you said, some of the stuff that excites you is like going upstream a little bit more, being involved in some of that early, strategy conversation. I think that's one of the things that I don't know if that's what happens to all agencies or like that just happens when you are really dialed in and kind of what your focus is going to be. But it seems like that, for me, we're a video storytelling agency. That's what we focus on, kind of this one lane, but we start with content strategy and messaging, and the more that we have those conversations and the more that we're leading those conversations, or at least part of them, the more effective we can be, and versus like telling us where to point the camera, so to speak.
I love, what you said about, getting in at those early stages while still making, the final deliverable or doing the work. And I think,
Right.
that's something that is so important to Jen and I, as like lifelong creatives and like true lovers of the craft. And I think something that, continues to set us apart is that, we don't have aspirations to be like a strategy only shop and stay up in the clouds. We still see so much need for, a great partner who can come in and do the thing, whether it's build the campaign, write the blog, craft the email, make the amazing video.
I'm curious, where do y'all come from? Were you at an agency before you started your agency? What were you doing beforehand?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I entered my career right straight as a designer, both in in-house environments and then worked at agencies where I got exposed to a multitude of different clients to touch and across different brands and industries. So a really great and interesting mix across traditional like print design and kind of really where I started in the industry was kind of seeing the evolution that happened around digital first creative, which is just ballooned, and now is really kind of like there is no such thing as a digital, agency anymore, a digital first agency.
We're a digital agency.
Yeah, like everything's digital now. Yeah,
as opposed to
yeah, as opposed to what? But yeah, I mean, those are kind of the transitions I saw kind of in the start to kind of where we are today, and really having to just be, adapt to that and ride the trends and the waves of what's happening kind of in our professional space.
Absolutely. Liz, what about you? Where are you coming from?
Somewhat little known fact, before I entered the marketing industry, I was an investigative journalist, and I like to think that those skills still serve me well today. Yeah, I worked for a few local, sometimes newspapers, and honed my interviewing and research skills, which I was very fortunate to use on site as a client conference last fall, doing some on-site video interviewing. But I love conversation, so I think it was, just a foregone conclusion that we would find our way into more, kind of strategic research and analysis over time.
So you're using those skills, but I got to ask, why did you leave the investigative journalist world?
Matt, I was just really tired of going and knocking on the, murder victim family's door, to be honest with you.
Gosh, no kidding. Holy cow.
Yeah. It's not for the faint of heart. It's such important work, but I ultimately realized that my future lay elsewhere. But a huge advocate for the power and importance of the press, and all the respect to my fellow journalists who are still out there every day doing that hard work.
Well, I have to ask a couple of just rando personal questions. Not really a personal question, but a silly question. Are you ready?
I think so.
Maybe not. Okay, I'll start with Liz. What's a word or phrase that we should stop using in the workplace?
Ooh, that is a great question. We actually played on a recent stand-up, like a round of like business jargon bingo, and I wish I had that card in front of me. But I have a personal hatred of the word synergy, so if we could just take that out of the lexicon, that would be really great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Get it out. I'm with you. Let's vote it out.
It's out of here.
I like, synergy. What about you, Jen? Anything come to mind?
I actually am not sure how I feel about the idea of low-hanging fruit. So I hear that all the time, and I'm like, I think I'm tired of that low-hanging fruit phrase. We got to come up with something a little different.
Something different. Yeah. I feel like in terms of words or phrases that we should remove from the workplace, low-hanging fruit is kind of a low-hanging fruit.
But what's yours, Matt?
Ooh, synergy is so good. I think that I'm going to give a vote to that one, but I think anything that revolves around, like, I'm going to dovetail off of what you're saying, or using animals or fruits actually as part of the analogy. I'm not a big fan of. I don't like mixing animals and fruits with business. It's a weird thing.
That's totally fair. I'm guilty as charged on that one.
Yeah. It happens to the
it's
best
played
of
out
us.
though, for sure.
Okay, one more. Finish this sentence in an old-timey voice, if you prefer. You know what really grinds my gears? Liz, go ahead.
Oh my goodness. I might need a minute on this one.
Yeah, take a minute. Jen, do you have something?
Is it related to our work?
It could be anything now. We're just like so we're getting into whatever comes to mind. Like, is there anything that happened today already on your drive in? Is there anything that happens in the workplace that is sort of you'd like it to?
Well, I could connect it to some of our, like kind of starting the conversation with an agency. So one thing that grinds our gears are the whole world of RFPs in general. And as an agency, we've definitely, especially in the nonprofit space, it's just kind of a standard, but it's actually a very outdated and not efficient, way to reach out to consultants. So, what really grinds my gears are the current way of thinking about RFPs, which is really just like putting a big megaphone ask out to a bunch of different agencies when really it's about having a conversation and understanding, like, is this the right fit, based on what our needs are as an organization. And we love, having conversations with clients to really, in those initial conversations, like unpack, like, what is the real ask here? What are you looking to solve? And are we actually equipped to do that for you? And that takes a few conversations back and forth, not, a 12-point font reply in 3 pages, based on, like a pitch on what we're going to do and how we're going to do it. And here's all this free thinking. So I think there's got to be a revolution in how organizations actually look at starting the conversation with creative agencies.
That's a great one. I think it grinds my gears too, across the board. Liz, what about you? What really grinds your gears?
I would say that and bad grammar.
Bad grammar, yeah. Coming from a copywriter.
I want to take a red pen to the world sometimes, but that's the craft in me speaking.
Yeah. All right, well, last question. Is there a book, podcast, article, something that we got to check out ASAP that you've read or written even? Anything come to mind, Jen?
Yeah, I mean, I think like in terms of our brand philosophy, like I love Marty Neumeier's philosophy around brand. So if you dig into like the Brand Gap and like Zag, those are really powerful books around understanding like the power of brand in a really simple way. For anybody, whether you're an organization or kind of an individual that's like interested in like telling a more powerful story.
Love it. Liz, anything come to mind for you? Any book, podcast, article we got to check out ASAP?
Yeah, so I mean, Jen covered a lot of the greats there when it comes to brands and creative strategy. I would say, like, putting on my agency owner hat, like one book that's been really transformational for us is Traction. So Gino Wickman founded the EOS method, and like while we haven't gone full force into EOS, it's like helps so much to clarify our goals and objectives, and then how we can actually take action on them and divide and conquer between the two of us and our team. So it's a quick read, but we found it tremendously helpful. And also Rocket Fuel, if you have a partner, I would say is required reading.
Love both of those. That sort of changed my whole view of the way an organization is set up. There is some really jargony, corporate-y terms they use in those books, like the Vision Traction Organizer. The document, but it's so effective.
I know.
So I have to give them a little bit of a dig for the names that they chose, but the books are amazing and have really changed my whole view of how to run a small company.
Yeah, if you can get past the dovetail and synergy, right?
Exactly. Well, Jen and Liz, thank you so much for joining us today and sharing a lot about what you're up to, as well as, when we can think about marketing roadmaps and when those kind of come into play for nonprofits. If people want to check you out, learn a little bit more, where can they find you?
Yeah, so head over to madebystatement.com. That's our website. And we're also on LinkedIn and Instagram. And send a connection request on LinkedIn to me, Jen Depakakibo.
Yeah,
Will do.
Or to me. We love talking shop, so bring us your questions.
Awesome. Well, love talking shop with both of you. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thanks so much, Matt. It's a real pleasure.
It's awesome. Thank you.